All right, 47. To me, remarked Scavolia, enough appears to have been said by you, and more than enough to stimulate the efforts of these young men, if they are but studiously inclined. For as they say, the illustrious Socrates used to observe that his object was attained if anyone was by his exhortation sufficiently incited to desire to know and understand virtue, since to those who were persuaded to desire nothing so much as to become good men, what remained to be learned was easy. So, I consider that if you wish to penetrate into those subjects which Crassus has set before you in his remarks, you will, with the greatest ease, arrive at your object after this course, and gate has been opened to you. To us, said Sulpicius, these instructions are exceedingly pleasant and delightful, but there are a few things more pleasant and but there are a few things more which we still desire to hear, especially those which were touched upon so briefly by you, Crassus, in reference to oratory as an art, when you confessed that you did not despise them, but had learned them. If you will speak somewhat more at length on these points, you will satisfy all the eagerness of our long desire. For we have now heard to what objects we must direct our efforts at point which is of great importance, but we long to be instructed in the ways and means of pursuing those objects. Then, said Crassus, since I, to detain you at my house with less difficulty, have rather compiled with your desires than my own habit or inclination, what if we ask Antonius to tell us something of what he still keeps in reserve and has not yet made known to us, on which subjects he complained a while ago that a book has already dropped from his pen, and to reveal to us his mysteries in the art of speaking? As you please, said Sulpicius, for if Antonius speaks, we shall still learn what you think. I request of you then, Antonius, said Crassus, since this task is put upon men of our time of life by the studious inclinations of these youths, to deliver your sentiments upon these subjects, which, you see, are required from you. 48. I plainly and understand indeed, replied Antonius, that I am caught not only because these things are required from me in which I am ignorant and unpracticed, but because these young men do not permit me to avoid on the present occasion what I always carefully avoid in my public pleadings, namely, not to speak after you, Crassus. But I will enter upon what you desire the more boldly, as I hope the same thing will happen to me in this discussion as usually happens to me at the bar, that no flowers of rhetoric will be expected from me. For I am not going to speak about art, which I never learned, but about my own practice, and those very particulars which I have entered in my commonplace book are of this kind, not expressed with anything like learning, but just as they are treated in business and pleadings. And if they do not meet with approbation from men of your extensive knowledge, you must blame your own unreasonableness in requiring from me what I do not know. And you must praise my complacence, since I make no difficulty in answering your questions, being induced not by my own judgment, but your earnest desire. Go on, Antonius, rejoined Crassus, for there is no danger that you will say anything otherwise than so discreetly that no one here will repent of having prompted you to speak. I will go then, said Antonius, and will do what I think ought to be done in all discussions at the commencement. I mean, that the subject, whatever it may be, on which the discussion is held should be defined, so that the discourse may not be forced to wander and stray from its course, from the disputants not having the same notion of the matter under debate. If, for instance, if I were inquired what is the art of a general, should I think that we ought to settle at the outset what a general is, and when he was defined to be a commander for conducting a war, we might then proceed to speak of troops, of encampments, of marching in battle array, of engagements, of besieging towns, of provisions, of laying and avoiding ambuscades, and other matters relative to the management of a war. And those who had the capacity and knowledge to direct such affairs I should call generals, and should adduce... No, I'm sorry. Generals. Damn, I lost it. I don't know. Lying to avoid ambuscades and other matters relative to management of a war, and those who had the capacity and knowledge to direct such affairs I should call generals, and should adduce the examples of the Africani and Maximi, and speak of Epaminondas and Hannibal, and men of such character. But if we should inquire what sort of character he is, who should contribute his experience and knowledge and zeal to the management of the state, I should give this sort of definition: that he who understands by what means the interests of the republic are secured and promoted, and employs those means, is worthy to be esteemed a director in affairs of government and a leader in public councils. And I should mention Publius Lentulus, the chief of the Senate, and Tiberius Gracchus, the father, and Quintus Metellus, and Publius Africanus, and Cassius Laelius, and others without number, as well of our own city as of foreign states. But if it should be asked, who truly deserved the name of a lawyer, I should say that he deserves it who is learned in the laws and that general usage which private persons observe in their intercourse in the community, who can give an answer on any point, can plead, and can take precautions for the interests of his client. And I should name Sextus Elius, Manlius, Publius Mucius, as distinguished in those respects.